This video contains of E-Module for Climate Change Impact and Adaptation, an overview in Indonesia developed by Faculty of Geography Universitas Gadjah Mada. The main idea of this E-Module are fourfolds. First, to give an introduction to an underlying factor causing climate change in Indonesia. Second, to understand wide scope of impact in diverse sectors due to climate change. Third, to exhibit diverse adaptation form in Indonesian context. Fourth, to highlight some case studies of climate change impact and adaptation in coastal cities across Indonesia. So what is actually climate change? Climate change refers to any significant changes in the measure of climate which lasts for at least an extended period of time. In other words, climate change includes major changes in temperature, precipitation, or wind patterns, among other effects that occur several decades or longer. Now let's go to Indonesia, since our focus will be in Indonesia. The Republic of Indonesia is the largest archipelagic state, consists of more than 17,500 islands, and cover over 81,000 kilometers of coastlines. These islands are home to an extremely varied geology, geomorphology, topography, and climate, ranging from coastal system to mountainous forest system. Of more than 2 million square kilometers, Indonesian land masses are covered by forests that are a harbor of wealth of biodiversity. Despite this amount of resources, Indonesia has clear evidence towards climate change phenomena. So let's take a look at several fact findings. The World Bank data year 2007 has indicated that Indonesia was at the third largest greenhouse gas emitters in the world. The average total emission in Indonesia from energy, agriculture, and waste altogether are around 451 million tons of carbon dioxide or equivalent. Meanwhile, the Indonesian Ministry of Environment noted that by the year 2011, Indonesia is among the world's 10 largest emitters of greenhouse gases. The major source of the emission are land use change and forestry, peat fire, energy consumption, waste, agriculture, and industrial processes. The estimate rates of deforestation are more than 2 million hectares per year. It is estimated the more deforestation rates occur, the more carbon releases. The WWF Indonesia reported that in Sabang, Central Kalimantan, forest fire and peat fire had annually occurs, causing nearly 620 hectares losses. In total, the estimated rate of forest fire in Kalimantan reached approximately 2 million hectares per year. Unfortunately, this occurs intentionally for land clearance for the sakes of industrial forests and oil palm plantation. Peat fire also contribute large amount of carbon emission for the last decades, although it is roughly estimated it exhibits increasing trends. In fact, climate change impacts are connected to our daily lives. The indication of warmth or increasing temperature reaches 0.3 degrees Celsius, while overall annual precipitation has decreased by 2 to 3%, and it follows with changing patterns of precipitations. Scientists projected that by year 2020, the mean temperature in Indonesia will have increased 0.36 to 0.46 degrees Celsius, with the highest spots occurs in Kalimantan and Moluccas. This has been a decline in annual rainfall in the southern regions of Indonesia and an increase in precipitation in the northern region. The seasonality of precipitation in wet and dry season has changed too. Wet season rainfall in the southern region of Indonesia has increased, while dry season rainfall in the northern region has decreased. These are simply unavoidable due to climate processes. Climate change induces wide scope of impact. Let's start from the post-economic crisis at the early millennia, whereas climate change issues arisen in Indonesia. At the aftermath of economic turmoil, Indonesia's economy has been growing significantly due to better political stability and regional endorsement, ASEAN in particular. However, climate change evidence became clearer in some area, starting from pastoral to urbanized areas, and has given more exposure to these areas. The hardest hit by climate change was experienced by the poor people, especially those who live in inundated area or in prone areas of flooding, landslide, and drought. As we know, climate change impacted upon sea level rise as a result of the increased volume of warmer water and the melting of polar ice caps, while the changing climatic pattern put water balance at stakes. Therefore, we expect more flood at some areas and more drought in some other areas. In Asia, it is estimated there are increasing at 1 to 3 millimeter per year and is projected to accelerate to 5 millimeter per year over the next century. Additionally, there was increasing number of population from 13 million to 94 million people flooded annually in South Asia. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, there are decreased rainfall, which increases drought risk, uncertain water availability, which at the end affects agriculture sectors, and unstable food security. Climate change impact to food security in Indonesia was influenced by high evaporation rates, unstable precipitation, and increasing runoff, also increasing soil moisture and water scarcity. Furthermore, flooding, either caused by high precipitation or sea level rise, will destroy rice and fish farm and other farmers' food production, which leads to unstable food security. On the other hand, increasing precipitation during wet season, causing increasing flood risk, which threaten urban settlements, transportation networks, also lifelines, and in fact, agriculture, forestry, transportation, and also settlement sectors are not merely impacted by climate change. It also affected fishery by decreasing fish production, causing biodiversity losses, decreasing ecosystem services, and increasing health problem. So, climate change also affected on increasing of natural disaster in Indonesia. According to Integrated Regional Information Network, or IRIN, in 2009, it is reported that there has been an increase in the number and severity of disaster occurring in Indonesia. Intense typhoons, droughts, forest fires, and flood are several disasters that often occur due to climate change. The fast pace of development could not bear with such vast environmental processes. It definitely became a greater challenge for Indonesia as a developing country. Among diverse impacts towards climate change, Indonesia has created some adaptation strategies. The most common adaptation strategies are building polders to manage water from further intrusion toward habitable areas and create environmentally friendly ponds. Let's take a closer look upon several adaptation strategies in several case studies of coastal city climate change impact and adaptation. Derived from previous data, we acknowledge that Indonesia is among 3 countries with most frequent flooding occurrence. On top of that, an archipelagic states, we have no doubt that sea level rise is a potential threat towards our coastal cities such as Jakarta, Semarang, and Demak. These cities are located in Java Island, the 13th largest island in the world, with nearly 57% total population of Indonesia resided in it, and it has the most densely populated island in the world, up to 1,100 people per square kilometers. This city suffers from coastal inundation or coastal flooding due to high tides as a consequence of astronomical tidal activities, wave action caused by wind, high sea level combining with high river flows, and accelerated sea level rise due to global warming. These phenomena are getting worse due to massive land subsidence in productive zone. Jakarta, this capital city in Indonesia, is located on the northern coast of island of Java, in a lowland area with relatively flat topography. As a delta, Jakarta has 13 rivers flow through the region, the main one being the Ciliwung. According to the National Disaster Management Board, or Badan Nasional Penanggulangan Bencana, Jakarta has experienced 3 flooding occurrences since 2002, 2007, and 2010. The occurrence was increasing annually and causing great loss to many sectors, including disease outbreaks such as diarrhea, respiratory infections, gastrointestinal infection, pneumonia, skin infection, and eye infections. The city has built massive polder and dike system in several areas along the city to control water. However, this was not adequate to put flooding away from Jakarta. So, Semarang, as the capital of Central Java province, is one of the largest cities in Indonesia. Since 1990, the coastal and lowland areas in the north of Semarang have been experiencing rapid growth of urban development. Rapid urban growth has become a major source for environmental deterioration in coastal and lowland areas. Due to urban development, the local communities in North Semarang are now suffering from various direct and indirect impacts of the environmental deterioration. Moreover, due to the difference of topographical condition, long-time sedimentation from the rivers occurs in the coastal and lowland areas. These sedimentations come from several major rivers such as Garang River, East Floodway River, Blorong River, Beringin River, Silandak River, Babon River, and East Floodway River. Besides the effect on sedimentation process, most of the rivers are responsible to the threat of flooding in Semarang. Most of the inundated area are dense populated settlements. The inundation of this area is potentially causing the damage on building. Non-permanent building, which is one of the products of unmanaged development. Similar to Jakarta, some diseases caused by inundation are suffered by community on the area. In Semarang, disease of the most people suffered of was respiratory infection, followed by skin infection, diarrhea, cholera, and dysentery, and also dengue fever. Slightly different from Jakarta, Semarang creates environmentally friendly ponds in several areas and creates simpler dike system along urbanized areas. Demak is the neighboring city of Semarang. Due to climate change, coastal line was moved inland. In 2010, coastal line had reached 2 kilometers difference than in 1972. Moreover, in 1972 and 1989, the coastal line still showing straight line. But in 2002 to 2010, the coastal line has changed and moved more inland. Intensive coastal erosion and sea level rise has caused the coastal line move inland in Sayung Coast, Demak. This has reached 5 kilometers since 1987. There has not much evidence upon adaptation strategies along the area due to the limitation of supports and resources.